After 6 years, the humble Himalayan has had its first major model update since its refresh in 2018. Its predecessor, the Himalayan 411, was loved by many globally and had a bit of a cult following. But should it have been the case of if it's not broke, don't fix it? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Usernamekate, and today in Sardinia I'm going to be taking Royal Enfield's Himalayan 450 on the road and off the road to see if that's the case. Stick around and I'll see you after the intro. First impressions sitting on this bike, it feels substantially more modern than the 411, and I would hope so because that was exactly the design brief. Thank you, thank you! Let's go, baby! Oh, okay. So, first outing out on the Himalayan 450. So instantly it feels less gutless than its predecessor. So for the engine on this we have a 452cc liquid cooled, the first ever liquid cooled or water cooled more specifically engine that Royal Enfield have ever produced. This one is double overhead cam. The bike produces a 40 brake horsepower at 8,000 rpm and 40 newton meters of torque at 5,500 rpm. Now we had a presentation last night and we looked at a graph, and it basically showed that when this thing literally starts moving, it produces more torque than the 411 ever had to offer, full stop. So yes, substantially more torquey. So today we're just putting to the test its road and off-road capabilities, how we find it. I have the app open, so I have the navigation so I can see where we're going. Not that I need to because I'm following the leader, follow the leader. But it's nice to demonstrate how it works since this is a review. Just looking at the dash, we have a lovely 4-inch TFT. We have all the information that we need on here. So they have made quite a few changes to the engine on this bike, to the point where they've actually shaved 10 kilograms off the weight of the engine. Although that seems mightily impressive, the bike does weigh only 2 kilograms in total lighter than the 411 Himalayan. And there are a few reasons for that. Obviously we've got a few technical advancements this year, a few hardware advancements which certainly contribute to a bit more weight. But also, one of the things that Royal Enfield said their target market was interested in, or their sort of loyal customer base, was they still wanted a bike that was kind of built for anything. It'll tackle out. And when you start getting very, very light, bikes start, you know, feeling a little less substantial, a little less planted, a little less built for the job. So they wanted it a bit meaty still, so that it can really thrive in its most popular markets, which are obviously the Asian markets, tackling like the streets of India with its carnage and chaos and its beep 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 left, right and centre, needed to be robust enough. So that's why they didn't want to put it on too heavy a weight loss diet. There's been a little bit of a calorie deficit here, but it's also been working out. It's got to find the strength of a Sherpa. The engine, they call it the Sherpa 450 at its heart. And with regards to luggage options, if you have the Himalayan 411 and you want to use your panniers and your top box, you can still do that. They haven't completely redesigned it in a ploy to make you spend more money. which I like that. That's nice of them. You just obviously need to sort yourself a bracket from them, but yeah, I think that's nice. So going back to this dash, 4-inch TFT, we've got the map on, you know, just slightly more than half of the screen. We've got information there that says we've got a roundabout coming up in 0.4 miles. I think that 2 in there suggests to take the second exit. Down below we've got the miles an hour nice and big. We've got a gear indicator. Oh, and it's reminding me, there was a little arrow on 5. It's reminding me to go up. And that's right, the new Himalayan actually has a 6-speed gearbox. At the bottom we've got our fuel, it's fully fueled. We've got a bigger tank size on this bad boy, so we now have a 17-litre tank instead of a 15-litre tank. So obviously that's going to contribute to it being more weighty as well, since the wet weight that we quoted is with all oils and fluids and 90% petroleum. But yeah, the price of the Himalayan, let's get into it. So it is a little bit more than what you would pay obviously for a Himalayan 411 when that was brand new. When that was brand new, I think the difference is about £800. Obviously now, since the new one is coming and they're clearing out sort of the stock in the dealerships, there are some pretty good bargains to be had on new Himalayans that are still lurking around showrooms right now. Ah yeah, first exit it says. That's pretty cool. And, oh by the way, this navigation does talk to you. It was talking to me before, but I haven't connected it up to the Cardo because I want to talk and vlog as opposed to constantly being interrupted by take the second exit. So if you quite fancy yourself a Himalayan 450, you've actually got quite a lot of choice when it comes to model variants and colour options. So the first variant you have is Base. That is available in Casa Brown, and I think it looks more like creamy than brown, but it's called Casa Brown regardless. And that's priced at £5,750. Then you have the next variant, which is Pass. And for Pass, you have 2 colour options, which are both based on this slate colour option, and they are £5,850, so an extra £100 more. And the colour options available are Slate Himalayan Salt and Slate Himalayan Poppy Blue. Then we have the third variant, which is Summit. And with Summit you have 3 options. You have Hanley Black, which is this kind of hero colour that I'm on right now, and that starts at £6,050. And then you have 2 options that are actually tubeless. Camet White, which will set you back £6,250, and then you've got the Hanley Black, again this colour option but with tubeless rims, and again that's going to cost you £6,300. So the bikes range from £5,750 to £6,300 depending on what variant you select. Oh, I like that. That's a nice street. So its road handling abilities seems pretty good so far. Can't really complain. We haven't been pushing it massively, but maybe this bit of the road will get a bit more pushy. We have a lot more updated hardware with this bike. For a start, the suspension has changed dramatically. We've got upside down shower suspension. It has 200mm of travel, which is more than the last one. Oh, do you see that? That's disgusting. Anyway, yeah, so suspension uprated, and we'll see how it performs off-road, but it's definitely feeling firmer. So when it comes to the brakes on this thing. We do have a bit better stopping power than we did previously. We do have a bi-brake caliper on the front, 2-piston caliper, and it's clamped on to a 320mm disc, which is a bigger brake than the 411 had. On the rear, again, we've got a 270mm disc, and that's got a 1-piston caliper attached to it, but that is a much bigger back brake disc than on the 411. I think that was something like, oh crikey, 225mm. I actually just applied the back brake. It's a lot stronger. I feel like the back brake on this works better than the front brake on the Himalayan 411. Like, the 411 was very much built to a price. You knew what you were getting, and with that you did have to be prepared to kind of, you know, throw an anchor to stop. But that is not the case with this. I'm on the back brake now, and oh my goodness, there's an immediacy with it, and yeah, it's quite good. I'm gonna have to watch out on the off-roading because I don't want to just start locking up the back end. And that actually leads me to something. So this bike actually has 4 riding modes. We've got a lot of other things like ride-by-wire this year with this model, and consequently we've got different modes. So we have a performance mode, we have an eco mode, we have a performance mode ABS off, an eco mode ABS off. And today for the off-road sections we'll be putting it in performance ABS off. Now if you just ride it in performance mode you do have ABS. If you ride it in performance mode ABS off, it disengages the ABS from the rear but gives you a kind of more off-roady biased ABS on the front. So it's not as intrusive as just having it in performance mode or eco mode, for example, but you've still got a bit on the front just as a bit of a safety net, and you don't have it at all on the back. What's the front brake like? Got quite a bit of travel on the lever before it starts to bite, but it just means that you can have a soft, like a soft pulling of the brake, and then it gets a bit bitey as you get closer to the bar. Wow, 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 look at the view! Oh gosh! Oh, wow, it does lean quite far over on that stand. Oh, look at this. Guys, look at this. Whoa. Stunning. Whoa. Look at these. These are amazing. I love roads like this. Twisty and down and beautiful. Oh, this is gorgeous. Keep going. Keep rolling, 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 wet. Rolling, 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 yeah. So this is the one that Lucia is riding. As you can see, she's doing a Instagramming and dancing. But I love this colour option. We've got the grey, we've got the kind of, it is pink, it's a salmon pink, I'm going to say it. So I get that it's not to everyone, but I love how it matches the boots. And yeah, I love that colour option. I think it's gorgeous. Right, let's go. Let's go, go, go. Oh, okay. Whoa, it is so slippy. It's so slippy. It's so slippy. Oh, so loose. I'm back in flapping around. Who do I think I am? Graham Jarvis? Absolutely not. but it's like he said, if you're gentle on the brakes and you just go around nice and sorry mum, my back end kicked out a little bit there. So yeah, so far my impressions of it on the dirt are pretty good. It seems, you know, substantially enough. Obviously not as big, heavy and bulky as some of the adventure bikes on the market. But yeah, a nice comfy position to stand up in. I do feel quite... oh, this is very tight. Slip that clutch. I do find myself like leaning over the bars quite a lot, so I feel like maybe somebody taller than me might benefit from maybe some bar rises on that, just to make life more comfortable for you. Thus far I'm trying. Ah! Almost lost the front end. That was not very nice. That was very disgusting. Oh, this looks not great. I feel like Lucia took a very good line then, and I tried to get in it. Oh, I don't like this. This is crazy. Crazy. Trying to still follow Lucia's line. Oh my god, this is frightening. This is actually frightening. Frightening for me anyway. Third gear. He's chumping on like a brute. Not the right gear, but he's doing it. Oh man, that was sketchy. So sketchy. Yeah, wrong gear all the way up there. But it's all gravy. Oh, I'm not a fan of them. I don't have the capacity, big man, to deal with that. Right, second gear with this, because I'm not very good at keeping the speed. Oh, I'm feeling so accomplished, guys. The mighty Himalayan 450 has helped me feel like I am not an incompetent wobbler and that I am semi-okay. Right guys and girls, if you watch my channel you will know that I am a 5'4" individual, or 162 centimetre human last time I checked. And I have an inside leg measurement of 29 inches, which is 73.66 centimetres. Now, the bike that we have here is in its lowest setting, so it does have a seat height of 825mm. However, this bike is fitted with a rally seat, which does bump that up to 850mm. Now, I personally ride a GS, an R1200 GS, and that does have a seat height also of 850mm. So I'm no stranger to that seat height personally. Riding something a bit lower today has been quite relaxing because I don't have to sort of worry and plan my stops as much. But I just wanted to give you guys an indication of what it's like for me with my stature to sit on both of these bikes. So we'll start with this one, 825mm. So if I am to stop, I do have my tippiest of toes down. If I just literally angle my bum slightly to the side, we've got a flat foot pretty much. So the seat height on this is actually pretty manageable. Then if we move over to this one, which has a seat height of 850mm, so yes, we've got a bit of a leg dangle going on with this one. So if I was to stop, there's a lot of bum scutchage that has to go on, because I don't have anywhere near as much of a dangle on my GS like this, in my opinion. And I think it's because that seat is wide, but also, this is a big factor, the preload on this bike is jacked right up. So yeah, that will contribute actually to the angle of the dangle, because the preload is just as up as it can be for extra ground clearance. But yeah, it just shows you the adaptability of these bikes. This bike can go to 805mm if you wanted it to, but it can also go to 850mm. Definitely more suitable for taller riders. So don't be put off if you're quite a tall person or you're quite a small person, because there are seats for all. When I found out that I was riding the Himalayan 450, I was pretty intrigued, because I actually really enjoyed the Himalayan 411. And what I liked about that bike was its plodder nature. It was unoffensive, simple, and it was just a bike that kind of did everything good enough that you didn't care for perfection, especially at its price point. I feel like the Himalayan 411 had appeal to newer riders with its 24 brake horsepower and unintimidating nature, but I also feel like it appealed to more experienced riders as well. And more experienced riders could have these in their garages as workhorses, as a bit of an inexpensive, do everything kind of bike. Something to go out on and put the miles on while their sparkly Sunday Stallion just remained in the garage for dry days, which, as you guys know, are pretty rare in the UK. So the Himalayan 450 has been heavily updated, and with the updates come an increased cost. But is it worth it? Personally, I think the costs are justified. I mean, look at it. It's right bonnet, it's got a load of new tech on it, and it's really raising its fists up to the competition like, you want some? And I really respect that from Royal Enfield. They've really come to shake things up, and I love that. The extra brake horsepower alone for some will be a big draw. I mean, it's still 40 brake horsepower, so it's not earth-shattering power, but it's a definite increase on the 24 of its predecessor. So you've just got a bit more poke, you've got a bit more torque, especially if you want to take a pillion, you want to take lots of luggage. And we've got a really quite impressive payload of this bike with 198 kilograms. So you can load it up. It can actually look like a Sherpa. It's quite ironic that this engine is called the Sherpa 450, because you can literally load it up and it will just carry you up the mountain, quite literally. One of the big changes with this bike is the Showa suspension on the front, and to me it is a big improvement on the previous suspension of the Himalayan 411. Now, if you watch my channel, you guys will see that I have quite traumatically dabbled in a bit of green laning, a bit of off-roading on the 411. And the suspension on this definitely, in my opinion, feels a bit better damped, a bit more confidence inspiring, and that extra travel as well is definitely helpful when you're kind of going over the rocky stuff. It doesn't feel so crashy on the front end, which I quite like. The rear suspension, again, we've got loads of adjustment. We've got 7 levels of adjustability of the preload, which you can do with a C-spanner under the seat in the toolkit. So there's plenty of customization if you want to, you know, really load this bike up with luggage and a pillion. You can change that and make the ride a bit better. But certainly for the purposes of today, on the road, it's been fine. I mean, the suspension's set up for somebody probably 85 kilograms. I'm quite a bit lighter than that. I don't know my weight in kilograms, but I think I'm probably tipping the scales of 10 stone at the minute. Listen, it was a bit of a stressful Christmas, all right, I overate. But the suspension has still been absolutely fine for me, and I found it just really comfortable on the road. Again, going over potholes. We've got a 21-inch front, but it's just been absorbing them and just taking it all in its stride, really. So yeah, suspension, big plus. It's definitely improved. Now, moving on to the other hardware, the brakes. Definitely a big improvement from the Himalayan 411, because yeah, you definitely had to plan when you were stopping, especially if you were honking along. You've kind of got to stop, and you know, they're not They're not the lightest things, admittedly, but these brakes definitely do help. Some of the things that I really like about this bike are the aesthetics. I love how curvy it is. Don't get me wrong, I didn't think I'd like it as much as the utilitarian boxy shape of the Himalayan 411. But with this, I just love how they've got it quite shapely. I love how they've still got this crash bar up here, very much like the old one. I like how it looks when Lucia is in front of me and I can see the tank shoulders, I can see the crash bars. It looks groovy and I actually really like that. So I like it aesthetically. I think this exhaust is a right little nice looking thing, to be honest, and there is an Arrow one that's coming out for it from Royal Enfield. So there is that. I love the fact that it's so customizable. Royal Enfield have gone to town with the general motorcycle accessories on this bike, the panniers, the seats, being able to change the ergos, being able to change so much of it. You can really take a bike that's, you know, got a relatively reasonable starting price, spend a little bit on it, but really make it your own, exactly how you like it. And I think it's very commendable when a company has a lot of accessories, because it's just a lot of choice to do what you want with it, and I like that. Technology, we got a dash, we got a 4-inch TFT dash, and it's pretty. She's pretty to look at. No gripes there. I wasn't really a fan of the dash on the Himalayan 411, just was a bit dated in my opinion, but this has brought it right up to date. It's housed lovely, the screen is beautiful, and it's just a nice, attractive switchgear cockpit to look down on. We've got the addition of the USB-C, which is quite nice, and we've got the connectivity with the smartphone and the dash as well, so that is a big plus point for the bike. One of the things that would have been nice is if it could have been spec'd with Royal Enfield heated grips. I don't believe that is an option, but I will fact check myself before this video goes live. We do have the omission of cruise control, even though we now have ride-by-wire throttle. And I know there are a few people out there that probably would have liked that even as an option. And I think if Royal Enfield did have it as an option, it might have been interesting for them to see how many people actually do desire cruise control on a bike, and it could help with, you know, future R&D when it comes to, you know, newer models in the future. One thing that I don't mind at all, but I know a few people do have a bit of a gripe with it, is the back lights. So we do have the two lights, almost in the style of like the BMWs, the new ones now, where they have the two lights and then it's all built in. So the brake lights are built into the two lights that are on, the indicators are. And I know a lot of people do like a dedicated single light. I think it's looked quite sexy following Lucia, and that's not just because Lucia's on the bike, because she's a babe. But I actually think that the bike has looked pretty tasty with those two lights, and in this bike's defence, they are actually quite big and chunky, so they are quite bright. And when people have been indicating, I've had no issue seeing it. That can be seen as maybe a bit of a negative to some, but it really doesn't bother me personally. And then finally, one thing that has come to my attention is just the fact that if you do want to use the navigation, you do have to leave your phone on a sort of a soft unlock. So it won't move off the screen, you won't be prank calling your grandma while you're out for a ride, but you can lock it so that it's not using the battery, which is a little bit of a flaw, but there are solutions to it. For example, if you have a phone mount on the bars, you've got that USB-C, you can plug it in. Of course, that's not going to help you much if it rains, because we all know that phones aren't 100% waterproof, especially when you've got electrical wires plugged in and stuff like that. So to be honest, that's something that I could live with, and I just like the fact that we have that connectivity to begin with. We've got the map, it functioned well today, I used it. It showed us when we were turning, it showed us what junctions or sort of exits we were coming off at on roundabouts. So I've actually really got on with it today, and it's just that little thing that I know people will complain about, because we're all human and we absolutely love to have a good moan, don't we? So to me, it feels like Royal Enfield have put some proper thought into this bike, and I really, really like and appreciate the direction that they've gone in. I think it's going to be a huge seller for them, just like it was with the Himalayan 411. Guys, what do you think about this bike? Do you like it? What are your highlights?
Do you think there's any tricks that Royal Enfield have missed when updating this bike? I'm always mega keen to know your thoughts and opinions. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. I know I've enjoyed filming it. It's been a right hoot. I've been loving ripping around on the road and off-road today. And yeah, this bike just gave me all the confidence in the world. I think off-road, maybe a bit more of a knobbly tyre, but then of course you compromise the road riding as well. So it's all about striking the balance. Well guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It always helps my channel and I'm always mega grateful. And yeah, until the next time, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you guys on the next vlog. Auf Wiedersehen.